Everybody ready, I take it? Okay. Call this meeting to order. Agenda additions or deletions, do I have any?
I have the rec contract for mowing for the rest of the season, just to sign off on it.
I'll make a motion that we add that to new business.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Close.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anything else? All right. Approval of August 22nd minutes.
You want them both together or you want them separate?
I'll make a motion that we do them together
Yeah.
Okay,
and approve them subject to any corrections anybody may have, but everything looked good.
and I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any corrections or deletions in that?
I thought they looked pretty decent.
I'll abstain because I didn't make it to the site visit.
Okay. And all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Highway Road Commissioners report.
Ongoing, the tier road on the Ira side, the grant projects. The lower part, we have two segments of the better roads is about 95% complete. And the top part, one segment of the grants and aids is about halfway done. We just got all the trees cut and stumped out most of it this morning, today. Hempa Hill, which is the one-way road up there, North Shrewsbury Road, the short stretch, that just got paved this last week here at the end. And I just talked to Tom Fuller about that and decided to, because it's the one-way, at the bottom of the hill, just smoothed it down and not did that actual corner, because there isn't two-way traffic there coming out there, and that saved about $5,000. So,
Good.
with that being said, when Katie and I applied for grants for paving, hoping we were gonna get Walker Mountain Road on the new bridge by the hotel to one approximately not to 133, but to just past Wilder's Bridge. We also put in a grant for South Creek Road, the tired part by the ledges. They go from the ledges to approximately Timmy Raymond's driveway. And with that being said, we decided to just do a skim coat. This is shim. So we ended up getting a grant just for that, the shim. So my question is to the select board, now that we didn't get the grant for Walker Mountain, did we invest in South Creek Road? Okay, we're gonna do the shim, but to do the top coat on top, which is a 3/4 inch, and that's gonna be approximately $28,900, just under $30,000 to do a top coat on that.
We're gonna go
A shim and top coat.
from the town line up to where the pavement exists.
Where's this, South Creek Road?
Yeah.
No. Gonna go from the ledges
Yeah,
up to almost Timmy Raymond's driveway.
okay.
There's a joint
There's a
right there.
joint
Yeah,
right there.
okay.
And the rest of it to Brownlee's is fine.
Still good.
That's real good.
Yeah.
So my question is, I can't remember the original shim, just a 1-inch shim that we had originally planned on was approximately, I don't know, 32,000 or somewhere in there. I have to look at figures. And with that being said, do we want to put that extra 3/4 top on top of that, which is going to cost almost $30,000, $28,900 roughly.
How much was gonna be, I mean, we said we were gonna ride the market for the spring to
Mhm.
see what the, because didn't we figure it had left us like, how much money had it left us after we were gonna do what we were gonna do?
The total resurfacing and reconstruction budget is $175,000.
Okay. And we spent between Pimple Hill and South Creek Road, what's gonna be,
I can't remember now.
we opened those bids, I know that.
Maybe I can find it.
I don't think Pimple Hill was over 20,000, something like that, 25,000.
I know we were gonna have quite a bit
Can't remember.
left for the spring, but I just don't remember what the figure was.
Yeah, I don't
Because
know.
this is a grant project down here anyway.
This is a grant down here.
So
South
really,
Creek.
all we're investing is the 30. Because
Yes.
the grant covered the rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
With a little bit of in kind
Okay.
Right, like the match on the grant.
match. So my question is, do we, now that we can't do that other paving project, do you want to do spend almost 28,900 roughly to do the top coat, like should be done anyways. See, originally I didn't want to spend all the money on
Yeah.
Yeah.
skim and soft coat or top coat, not have enough revenue to cover it. But now that we didn't get the big project up there,
Which I assume we're gonna apply for that next year
Definitely.
again.
oh yes,
Yeah.
and actually we got pictures and stuff from one of the residences up there, water problems, and where it's bellied out and causes problems in their garage and whatnot.
Not at the end of schoolhouse.
Yes, and that was the schoolhouse was the issue there.
Because water's coming down.
Water was coming down, the shoulders were high because of the way the cars were running, using the same ruts all the time. And it spitting stones out to the side, building the shoulders up. So now Joel went up and graded it in. No,
So hopefully the water will go to
water,
the edges.
we'll find out tomorrow when we get rain.
The,
Water should flow off.
the grant for South Creek Road covers $32,000 with a 20% local match. Is that what you were looking for?
So 32,000.
And with that being said though, if we were gonna shove it, we were gonna go with a full inch. Actually we'll be cutting back a little bit. If you put 2 layers on, you'll cut the shim back some, a little bit.
They do that automatic?
Pardon me?
The contractor does that automatically? then?
Well, you'll do it any way you wanna do it.
Oh.
We planned on, just doing a shim, you wanna put a good layer on.
Yeah.
But
So
now,
just shimming it down there was roughly 40 grand then, 40,000.
no, 30.
Well, I'm saying with our match was 40.
Yeah, cause that'd be 6,000 on our side.
Yes. So right now with no top coat, you're talking roughly putting $40,000 in between the grant and our share.
Right.
And now we would be putting another 30 in on top of that to do the top coat.
Yes. But when he does the shim, if he's going to do a cop coat, he won't do such a thick
Shim.
shim.
In spots.
Yeah, there's places that bellied out that
It's going to need a lot.
it's going to need some good shimming. But
And our total resurfacing article was,
Total resurfacing budget is $175,000.
and you can't remember what we spent on Pimple Hill.
no,
When did they finish that?
I think Friday they did it. I was up there Saturday and the paper was there. He didn't call me. He was headed to Shrewsbury. I talked to him the other day morning. I think Wednesday morning. He said he was headed to Shrewsbury, and I says, "Well, equipment's there. Why don't you just do Pimple Hill?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Okay, we'll see if we can work it in."
Yeah, they've done it Friday morning.
So they did. Was it Friday morning?
Yeah, I hadn't been over
The
that.
quote for Pimple Hill from Fuller was $88.70 a ton, and they estimated 224 tons.
870. Yeah,
So
it's 200 and something ton.
I
they estimated 224 ton. I don't know what the actual was.
I mean, you're still gonna have 110,000 to spend in the spring theoretically. Right around 100,000.
So that's just on 100,000 or 20,000 just to do something else.
20,000 there. If we do 50, yeah. Crunching numbers, yeah, I'll make the motion that we go ahead and actually get that road up to what it should be down there and put the top coat on
Is there a
for
second?
30,000.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second, and then I got a question for you, Cash. And I know
I'll try.
you can't read the future any more than I can. How much more life will it give that road by putting the top coat on, do you figure?
If we just shimmed it, we're talking about 6-7 years, and this should bring it like Pimple Hill 10 years.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with Robert's, and I guess I seconded it, yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You have anything else?
The other thing that was on the agenda was for the Colvin access.
Mm-hmm. I think we've all done some research on that. And personally, sounds like we've had some comments from legal advice too, from Bill Bloomer. With, because we've danced that area before when we put a septic system in over there. And I think that I don't think that we should be permitting that right away
Well, it's,
across the town common, even though it's his property. It says right in the deeds, and also, what's the legal paper that we had there, Katie, where,
I believe it was like a court order.
yeah, that's what. So, I'd like to have opinions from each board member.
If you're going to do it, my understanding is the only way to do it is the town would have to give a legal easement. That's my understanding.
Well, an easement to, it's his property, but it's the town, common.
Correct. Based on my reading of the court order and my reading of what exists, and maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but it's almost treated like a joint ownership. Is that maybe I'm not understanding it correctly, but
It may be, but the court order says that only things that are associated with the town common, in other words,
open space. It
Right.
basically says it has to
Yeah.
stay open space. Was my interpretation of what it
with,
says.
with no structures. Or any-
No structures and no. Let me look. It's right here.
It's supposed to say like as open as possible, I believe.
why don't you read that? So it's on there.
No structures, no buildings of any kind on the dedicated property. It is the intent of this agreement, so this is the court order. It is the intent of this agreement that the dedicated property remain as open property.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I guess the legal discussion has to come down to, is the driveway open property? And that you're getting into a legal dance, I think. Then I don't know.
I'll make the motion that we deny his request.
There's a second for discussion.
I'll second Art's motion.
All right. Is there any further discussion?
I'm going to recuse myself due to the fact that I tap Mr. Colvin's trees.
Oh.
So there is a relationship there, so I'm not gonna get involved. I'm gonna recuse myself.
All right, there's a motion made and seconded. We've had some discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? 84. I was a little nervous anyway, because where he wanted that, right on the turn, essentially, right out here.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a good thing to be backing trailers and stuff in there on that turn.
No, and there is access to that property from Cobb Lane.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really feel there's a necessity that he has to go across there.
Yeah. Well, we've made a decision.
Yeah, over and done.
If he wants to go to court with it,
Cross the bridge when we get there.
yeah. All right. Creek Road structure update.
So Cash and I have been working with East Engineering. We received design plans for the box culvert. I had forwarded you guys that email a couple months ago. And we got like a draft contract. We also received permits that we have to sign. I think there's a stream alteration permit. But basically, I think we're going to like hit this running in the spring. Just have I think we're going to do a pre-bid meeting in the spring and have our box culvert ordered in here. So that's our update on that.
Is there any match on that grant for us?
Yeah.
I think it's 10%.
10. Okay. Just curious. Yep.
I'm pretty sure it's 10%.
That's,
You're not looking for any action tonight then?
Nope.
I was gonna ask, that's what the question's gonna be. All right. Approval of the select board warrants. They're floating around here. Who has them? You have them, Rob?
We got it right here.
Okay. So if anybody from the public wanna look at how we're spending money. Any public comments? Anybody out there? All right, old business, Kingsley Covered Bridge, final plans.
So I printed out the final plans, just so we have them on file. I'd also emailed them to you.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for any comments from the town by the end of the month. And in the letter from JB, they're asking for the town to advise on the color of the roof of the bridge. It's currently green.
Yeah, that's, as far as I'm concerned, one member. I like green. Anybody wanna,
Make a motion that we respond that we like to see the bridge roof color stay the same in green.
second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And there's a bundle of paperwork, you guys wanna look at it?
I got it in an email.
Saw it already.
Okay.
Should I post that notice or the letter like around town? Like, are they looking for resident feedback, do you think? Or just like,
I would say it's probably a wise thing to do.
I can do that.
Alright, new business. FY 23 grants and aid agreement.
So this is already gearing up for next year. I believe we were awarded $20,000 for next year. So Cash and I have been chatting about how we're going to use those funds. But basically, we're just trying to pick off what's the priority and by the deadline.
This is more of MRGP, right?
Yeah.
Doing the water stuff.
Yep, water quality.
So I just need a signature on it.
Make motion that the chair of the board sign on behalf of the board.
There's a second for discussion?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, cemetery committee update.
That's Kevin.
That's me.
It's himself, whose mandate it is.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay, first of all, I started working on Marsh Cemetery last July and completed it this past July. So it's been completely restored. Over 40 stones repaired, put up, whatever. Brad Gilman helped me one afternoon or one morning because there was a spired monument that had to be put up, and he had the tractor big enough to be able to get it up there high, kind of like the situation out here. So that one's completely restored. The flats closing in here, I probably got 1 or 2 more days plugging along myself. And then I've already talking to Cash, that northwest corner over here, northeast corner, those 7 memorials, they're all tipping to the west or to the east. And so I used the excavator. It's probably going to be a multiple hour project. We'll have to, the 3 in the front are going to have to reset anyway, so we're going, the plan would be to move them completely all the way, right down the base and everything. Move them all the way and go get the big one in the back and the 2 next to it. And then we reset the 3 in the front that we moved. So,
How are you gonna, how are you gonna mark where those are established now and dig at the same time?
we're not gonna dig, there won't be any digging. You know, that far one leading, as you look out there, it's leaning, I mean, that's 8 pieces of stone. It's like you get into your childhood building block days. And it's all just gravity, except, of course, they just set it on the ground 140 years ago, and it starts roots, frost, whatever.
Yeah.
It starts pitching. So you just break it right down, reset the base, build it right back up.
Okay.
The same thing, the same in the front. Those 3 in the front are just sat on the ground, starting to pitch. The ground's soft in some spots. It just starts leaning. I mean, it's not going to come over this year, next year, but it's going to come over. So, and the one in the back comes over, it's going to take over, probably going to take at least 1 or 2 in the front. So, break them down, move the base, get the back ones, the 3 back ones, and then we'll just reset the base, and it's just a short pack, set the base, put the other 2 pieces on. It was just kind of like we did the one here. I mean, you didn't see it done, but
No.
the one within inside the stone wall, we took right down to the ground, moved the base, and brought shore pack in, leveled it all up, reset the base. And sometimes it's like chasing a rabbit because you set one. I mean, we all know trying to level something, you set a corner, and this corner is out, you set that corner, well, this corner is out. And you work and work and work, and once you get it leveled, then you just put the piece. There's nothing holding them together, they're just gravity.
Yeah.
Tom Giffen, president of Volca, the weight of the stone will hold it in place. I'm gonna put that on his grave. I've heard it so many times. So, but I'm closing in on this, and by this fall, this should be done. I got Volca, some of my co-Volca members are coming down some are coming from Charlotte, Williston, Rutland. This weekend, we're gonna hit the Spafford Cemetery, we're gonna work in there. Work on some stones, repair some stones. I'd like to get 1 or 2 members of the board before I go up there Saturday, just to take a walk around and see some things I want to see up there. Which brings the question, Button Cemetery, or Pratt Smith, or whatever it's called. I was planning on going down there also this fall. There's about half a dozen stones need to be fixed, righted. There's some stuff, other stuff that needs to be done, but unlike Spafford, where we have a copy of the deed in the vault, I got the copy right here, that says, we no longer want anything to do with the cemetery, we turn it over to the town of Clarendon, and you are now in charge. We don't have anything like that for Button Cemetery. So I'm kind of, I wanna say kind of leery about going in there. I mean, we can't even seem to find anything that says that we took over the mowing of it. But we've been mowing it for years, the town has. So, I think about one of these rainy days of coming down here, and we found a letter about, the woman requesting the town to start taking over, and then going back and looking at, select board meeting minutes and see if I can find something and try to, get something more concrete. So I'm gonna kind of stay away from there right now because I just don't want to, I don't know what the agreement was. And none of us seem to know what the agreement was. We don't seem to have anything in writing, but we've been, like I say, we've been mowing it for years. I've got a lawn. You guys up for mowing that? So.
I've seen your lawn, no thank you.
I used to have kids at home who fought war who could ride the tractor on. No, they're all gone. So anyways, so that's the skinny on those cemeteries. And then next year, I've already scheduled a Volca event for Chipping. And hopefully, if Button, there can be some work done, we determine that we can do some work in Button. All 4 of these lower cemeteries will be done. We restored everything up, everything in place. I've got one stone at home. It was in 7 pieces. Called up one of the longtime people of Volcas, and they told me, this is what you need to build a backer board, get it somewhere flat, build a backer board, lay it out, put it together, mortar it, do everything in the backer board, then strap it down on that, bring it back, and stand it in place. So I'm looking for 4 men and a boy to help me move that stone on my garage. But it's there, it's been done, and that'll go into a place over here. But this will be done. These will be done, restored, stones up, cleaned. There's over 40 stones worked on in the Marsh Cemetery. We stopped counting. My counter stopped one day counting at 73 here. So probably 8 or 9, whatever. Then we got the 7 in the corner that we're going to work. There's about a half a dozen, and there's a number up to Spafford, but they'll all be done, hopefully. Which Chipping Hook's going to be a multiple-year project. Just in the old section alone, we're walking around with some members of Volca after we had, in July after we were here, we stopped at 120 stones in the old section alone and broken or down, or down. Just in the old section alone. And a lot of them are down, just like some of these were here, where they're down so far in the ground that the mowers were running over the top of them and not even having to raise the decks. So that's gonna be a multi-year project. I'm working on that up there. Rules. I'd like to develop now. I found this wonderful link on the web. Every cemetery commission, town select board, whoever was in charge of cemetery. So I started reaching out to them. In fact, I started with Heidi first, and went to Vermont towns and leagues or city, whatever, however it is you went to. And they responded, and then I started reaching out to these other people. So I've been talking to select board members from various towns as far as, up north to down south, committee members, about the rules. Most of them have rules for cemeteries, monitoring their cemeteries. So I would like to develop some rules for the Clarendon. Now, we only have 2 active cemeteries for burial. Well, 3 if we want to consider the Button, but we don't have control of that. We have control of 2, Spafford and Chippendale. And we've had 3 burials this year. 2 where no one came and even saw us. They just went and buried people. So,
That's not good.
no, and you know, we've been discussing it. I've been chasing down. Now, one was in a spot where there was 3 altogether. The woman came in last spring. We talked about it, the Pope one, but the woman never followed up on paperwork. I've been trying to reach out to her. I even got in touch with the crematorium that did the cremation to see if they would reach out to her to have her respond back to me. And unfortunately, her mailbox is full and she's not returning, the missed call to them. So the other 2, one was a stone was set in Spafford, and that was done by Balker. The other one was a stone was already in place. I'm really not worried about that one up there because they already had a stone there and they had a cremation. But there's paperwork that needs to be followed up on too. And I plan on getting in touch with those 2 families and saying, see this piece of paper came with the remains, the bottom here. It's got some information on this day, blah, 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 at this place, this, that, and the other. And then you attest to it, you sign it. The woman up in Stafford this spring brought the paperwork in here prior and with the agreement with me that she would come back after the burial and fill it out. Never has. But I know it's happened. So with that being said, and there's also other rules. Rules on artificial flowers, rules on planting trees and shrubs, rules on some of these other things that have happened. People have planted, there's places where people have planted, I know Grammy liked lilac, so they put a lilac bush in. Well, we know what lilacs do. They just keep going. Up in one of the cemeteries, daylilies. Well, there's a place that's like 12 foot across, a circle with daylilies. And they don't bloom anymore. If you understand daylilies, they get too tight, they don't bloom, they just keep spreading. But now you got maple trees and oak trees growing up through the daylilies. And huckleberry bushes or whatever, and stuff like that. And the mowers don't mow, they just think, well, someone's daylilies is supposed to be there, so they keep giving it room, and before you know it, it's just like this Marsh Cemetery. When I cleaned out the whole back lawn, that line was 6 feet plus. In some places off, brush, it just kept coming and coming, and then they get mowed and just kept coming, and that's what's happening in a couple of these places. And lilac bushes, and someone put 2 tamaracks. 2 tamarack, like puppies.
Yeah.
Puppies are cute, but they grow up into big dogs. You put a tree next to a stone, what's it going to do?
Yeah.
So, I've been talking to these towns, and Barnard seems to be very, I'm going to write up something that reflects what Barnard did. And the reason I like Barnard, because they were in the same position we were up to 3 years ago. No rules. It was the Wild West of the cemeteries. People were doing what they wanted. And they sat down and said, we're going to have rules. And they established the rules that went into effect in 2019. So it's like recent history. They did something, it was only 3 years ago, and this is what they did. You look at the majority of these rules, they have rules about artificial. They have rules. There's one place that looks like a discount table at Dollar General, with all kinds of stuff. And the mowers, I talk to the mowers, he says, yeah, we hit stuff because the winds blow, things get blown off, whirly gigs or whatever, and next thing you know, they're sending it across the cemetery or the top part of what do they call solar lights. Fall off, get it in the grass, they don't see it, they hit it, and next minute they're sending shrapnel all over. So, we just need, we need some rules. I'm gonna write something up for your review, and then we'll go from there. And, but it's one of the kind of mirror what Barner did, because like I said, 3 years ago when they put their foot down, they were in the same boat we were. So I like those. I mean, you go down to Scottsville, there's, okay, signs. We're getting some nice looking cemeteries. Something to be kind of, I don't want to say proud of, but we can point to people and say, getting to the point where they look nice.
Mhm.
George, I mean, Bob had someone come about a month ago, and he took him in, and the stones were standing up, and I guess the last time the folks have been here, the stones were down, and they were appreciative. George, I guess, telling me last week he brought his wife down here to take a walk around the cemetery. Most cemeteries have a sign. Westview, Wetmore Cemetery established such and such year. You know, it doesn't have to be something too elaborate. You go down the road here in Danby, and Wallingford, they've got a sign over there, so they got it in wrought iron.
Yeah,
I'm not asking for that. Scottsville's got it on, 4x4 stuck in the ground. Have a nice big Scottsville cemetery, and they get the rules, kind of like a quick hit on the rules right there. I wouldn't mind seeing a sign here saying, Clarendon Flat Cemetery, established, I got the year, 1792. West Clarendon, or Chippenhook, West Clarendon Cemetery, established same year, 1792. A nice sign, But you also, so we've got some funds, but we've also got some funds, and I just lost it. I don't know what I did with it. Some of the trust funds have, some of the cemeteries themselves have, like Spafford has, trust funds, and West Clarendon's got $4,400 in theirs, or Button's got 66, but that's a different issue. I don't want to do anything down there until we find out exactly, how much force, how much
say the town
we're
has.
gaining there. How much. So, but some of these cemeteries have funds independent of the town's, funding for cemetery stuff. And I thought, once we maybe get an idea what some signage would cost, and it doesn't have to be elaborate, but, put some signs, a sign, the cemetery, Clarendon, established such and such year, whatever. Which also comes into, I'd like to start thinking maybe it's something to go ahead down the road for a town meeting, looking at some fencing. This fencing, I don't really care about the fencing going into the woods and back, across the back, and you can't see most of it. But across the front, especially this corner here, and the posts for the gates, nothing matches up, but maybe something a little bit nicer. Whatever. Marsh Cemetery, I thought for the longest time, it's got 2 holes in it. I thought for the longest time, it must have been happened when a car or something went off the road and tore a chunk out of that fence. Then I came across an old picture of that cemetery, and there's 2 massive maple trees. One right on the corner, right next to Brad Gilman's driveway going in. If you look at the gate on the right-hand side of the gate, and one just 10 feet up from the gate on the left side of the gate. And I imagine the town at one time must have took those trees down and yanked the stumps out. And what they did is they cut the fence, and the part that was in the tree went with the tree, and so you got this great big holes and in the fence. something to consider, and I don't know, maybe we want to run it by our attorney. Title 18, Chapter 121, and paragraph whatever, deals with fencing in cemeteries. The town's required to maintain a fence by law or fines. And the issue is you don't say, well, I can just pay the fine. But it says the fine will be given towards the repair of the fence. So they want the fence done. But it's ambiguous. What happens if you take the fence out? No one says you have to, if you have a fence, you maintain it. Maybe we ought to have Mr. Bloomer take a look at that and say, hey, can we take the fence out? The fence was designed to keep animals out. I mean, apart from, you look at this fence here, there's really, well, there's cows on the other side over here, but there's really no cows up at, up by Chipping. So that's something to think about. Do we need, if you go to Woodstock, the big cemetery on the left, just before you enter Woodstock, there's not a fence inside. You walk from the edge of the road right into the cemetery, and there's no impediment. So instead of maybe the cost of a fence and the cost of maintaining a fence and the cost of repairing these fences, maybe we just take a look at the fact saying, do we really need it anymore? And can we remove it? Maybe it would be a day with the work crew, the road crew or something, just pop everything up. But that's something I don't know if we want to consider that. Button is a different story because they have a stone wall and such. But that's something to think about.
I think that when you're talking about fences and stuff, we should probably check with the state what the state laws are, if in fact there are any state laws, and then go from there. If it's determined that they have no standard, then it's up to the select
Well,
board.
We went through this up at West Clarendon, Chip and Hook, because we had to put the fence on the backside.
Yeah.
So I think at the time, and we can revisit if we need to, but I don't know if it's really necessary. I believe our understanding at the time was if there was animals present, it was the town's responsibility to maintain.
Right.
If there's, I think that's become, like what you're saying, I think it's become a moot point.
Right.
Because even if you drive, off of Stratton Road, Rutland removed the southern fence on that whole cemetery off of Stratton
Right.
too.
Right there on
So I don't know that if it is still a state situation, it's certainly not being enforced anymore.
the statute. I've got the statute right here. I mean, I could look up the paragraph, but it states, you're supposed to maintain it.
Correct. Yeah.
But it doesn't say you can't remove it.
Right.
That's
Maintain them if they're established, but if they're not established, or if there's only one fence on the south side or something like this.
I can look that up, but
I think, Kevin, like that Marsh Cemetery, where there's a hole in the fence, there's a good chance that the maple tree grew into that fence and
well, that's what I said.
that's what happened.
It grew into the fence, and so when they just cut
You have to cut around it.
the wire
Cut the
out,
chunk out.
and then just took the stump out and left the hole. That's what I'm saying.
That was quite a while ago.
Is that
A
something
long-
you did,
long time
Cash?
ago.
Yeah,
Was that?
That's something you did?
No,
I remember one of the trees.
that was a
he's
long
talking
time
about.
ago.
We lost one not too awful long ago. I was on the board when we lost one of those maples.
But
Yeah.
Bowen, I think Norm was
The rest of them were way back. Yeah, they were a
They're
while.
way back. I can remember one. I think it was the one that Kevin talked about right on the corner of the northeast corner of that cemetery, right by the gate. I can remember that one coming down. The others, it's farther back.
Was it Norm or was it Bert Austin.
Might have been Burton.
Well,
'Cause I remember
I know,
talking about it at one of the meetings.
I know we've been on this topic for a while, but I would personally like to say thank you to Kevin and all the work that you and
Absolutely.
Voca and others. You've certainly been the spearhead of getting this stuff done. So I as one member of the board, want to say thank you.
Two members.
I think that statement should come from the board because we're all very pleased with what you folks have been doing, Kevin.
And the thing on 5364 on fences. When the select board or cemetery commissioners neglect to keep and repair the fence around a public burial ground, the town may be prosecuted for such neglect and fined not more than $400. The fine shall be expended in repairing the fences around such burial grounds under the direction of the commissioner appointed by the court. So that's what it says about fences. It says if you have a fence, maintain it, I guess.
But it doesn't
Fine
actually
goes
say
towards
you need
fixing
it.
the fence.
Yeah, it doesn't say there's a fence required. It just says
Right.
Maintain it.
it's interesting.
I did wanna touch on the trust funds that were talked about a little earlier.
Right.
We do have to be careful with that though too, because I know Spafford was mentioned. That Spafford trust fund is specifically to
Right.
be used for Spafford lots in that cemetery, so that can't be used for
Yeah, so
a
is the
sign
box.
or a fence. And there's quite a few of these that are like that. The ones that aren't, ironically enough, Button, there is, the income from the initial investment that was given to the town, can be used for perpetual care and whatever that means. And then West Clarendon, also has some funds available. But the rest of them are very much so specific as to, these are for specific lots, specific cemetery
Right.
plots within these cemeteries. So just wanted to kind of touch on that. Also, as far as signs go, I would be willing to donate some graphic design time. If you folks decided that you want to go that route, to be able to come up with something to then send to someone like Green Screen or Awesome Graphics or wherever to get them printed, but so that you don't have to pay for the design of them. I'd be happy to do that for you.
I'd like, the letter has to come from whoever, come from me, the agent. A letter written to Holden Cemetery and Balker Memorials, requesting that they do not do any work in one of the Clarendon cemeteries unless they first contact us to see if it's approved for them to do it, see if the families contact, gain approval. I mean, Balker set the stone up in Spafford. I'm assuming he put the base in too, but I don't think he probably would put the stone in there if he didn't put the base in there. I mean, these are the town cemeteries, you folks are responsible for them. Just a simple saying prior to striking dirt, contact, Clarendon admin assistant, and she can direct them to me. Okay, you need to talk to Kevin Peck. What irritates me about the cemetery up there in Spafford was they contacted Lane Douglas to do the burial. He told them first to contact me. When I went up there to do just a cursory inspection, I saw, well, wait a minute, this is brand new. I contacted Lane and asked him if he was aware of it. He says, no, they contacted me this summer and I told them to get in touch with you. That you're the guy to get in touch with. And I said, well, no one ever got in touch with me. And I asked here, no one ever contacted anybody here. They just went and did it. So I think probably the nip was we just sent a letter to both Walker and Holden, who are primarily the major
The major
stone
ones, yeah.
and say, before you do anything in the Clarendon Cemetery, you need to reach out to us and find out. And like I said, they don't need to talk to you, they can, Katie, they can contact her, and she can sit there and say, okay, here's Kevin Peck's number. Talk to
Well,
him.
and it's a matter too of, because it's inter-office, because they're going to be filed with you too, Gloria, right? I mean, would they come in with the death certificate and all that stuff to go on file? So I would make a motion that Katie go ahead and, on behalf of the board, draft a letter that states that we become aware that some work has been done without proper notification this year, and going forward, all activity in any Clarendon cemetery needs to first go through contacts at the Clarendon Town Hall. Leave it general like that. I mean, if they come to Gloria, they come to you. You guys can obviously point them to Kevin, so it's all gonna.
Would it be, to add to your motion, would it be just to go ahead and add Kevin, his contact information as just right there?
I think the proper chain would be first here and then
Yeah.
then to Kevin is my thought, because the paperwork process, by the time it gets to Kevin, the paperwork process in this office should already be in motion.
Right.
So he would kind of be the second step. Their first step should be contact the office.
That makes sense, okay. So, for clarification, want to repeat your motion?
What do you have down, Katie?
I lost it halfway.
That's
Keep
what,
it.
So a motion that Katie draft a letter on behalf of the board to the two major cemetery companies or the stone companies we've mentioned, stating that this year we've been made aware that work has taken place without proper authorization, and going forward, all work must be contacted through the town office before anything happens.
And the main reason being is that work happened, but the paperwork hadn't been filed with the town hall before those stones were.
Correct.
And they're still on.
Correct.
Still on.
right. There's a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay,
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm all done.
nice job.
Good job, Kevin.
Simplify.
Cemeteries do look good.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you have my phone number.
I do.
If you want to give me a call, the cell phone. Don't call the house phone, but I never pay attention to house phone. And then I can meet you somewhere if you want. Okay. We have the mowing contract. And it's, did Matt look at all this?
I sent him a copy of it beforehand. So yes.
Okay. So let me look at this real quick.
So Brad Keith is just picking up the rest of the season. And he is charging $65 for chip and hook and $160 for rec fields on 7B.
And everything's in order, paperwork wise, insurance and all that.
His insurance has expired from last year, but I will get it.
Right, and
Make
just
a motion that the chairman of the board sign on behalf of the board.
a second.
Art seconded.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Heidi, do you have anything you want to report?
I do. So as of today, we are officially accepting credit card payments here at the town hall. So what that means on the town clerk side is for transfer station tickets, for your dog license fees, your marriage licenses, all of those kinds of things. You'll now have the option to pay with credit card. There is a small 3.5% fee to be able to use that service. Just because we cannot absorb that cost and make that a burden on the taxpayer. So that is how that is going to work. And we are also accepting credit cards for tax payments as well, if someone wants to use that. But again, there is a 3.5% fee to use that service. And as far as tax bills go, tax bills did go out at the end of last week. They are due October 15th.
That's it?
I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah, Gloria was hiding behind a post.
Only from you, Mike.
Okay, do you have
I
any?
have nothing.
Okay. It looks to me, now I'll ask Rob for his official, but doesn't that look like somebody has to?
I would say Gloria can do that and seal it. Just have to
Yeah.
verify that it was witnessed that he signed it in front of somebody. So,
Just a witness or notary?
Just
No, it's just a
Then
witness.
you've got.
so actually I can, right?
All right. Katie, do you have anything?
Just that household hazardous waste pickup for Clarendon is this Saturday at the transfer station from 11 to 1. So I'll be posting that notice around town. And then I believe you all got the email about the MRGP permit draft that's out, and they are accepting written comments through October 24th. So I'll be posting that notice around as well.
All right. Select board members concerned. Art? Do you have anything?
I don't have any concerns, but I'd like to ask the public's input on our volunteer fire department. These boys volunteer. They don't get paid. And I was told that we have a 30-some-odd-year-old tanker truck that's not in such great shape. And I know we have ARPA money that can be used for that. I'd like to know what the town thinks, if the town thinks that some of that money should be used to replace that tanker truck. Yeah, according to Matt, it's like $200,000 to replace it.
But I wonder if that's a question that.
It can be used. It can be used. We can.
For emergency services,
It can?
it absolutely can be, yes.
Already looked into it.
All right, and it doesn't seem like we're being proactive about spending it in any other direction, so I mean, that makes sense. Help the fire department out.
I would prefer to have, if I have a fire, I would prefer to have the volunteer boys show up at my house with the equipment that can take care of the fire. Like I said, they're volunteers. We never get any complaints about them, so I think we should support them. But I'm only one guy, and I'd like to hear what the town has to say. So call me.
Bob?
I don't have anything tonight other than just obviously with what yesterday was for an anniversary, just remembrance of all those who lost on 9/11.
The only thing I have, once again, is that for the transfer station, they want to build a little corral around that food waste
Well,
thing. And it would be next to that garage, maybe something that's 6x6, and put a small roof.
are we having animal trouble?
Oh yes, bears. But what's happening there? So they're putting those 2 bins in that little shed.
Mhm.
And the guys that when they pick that up, they don't get the shed all the way closed, and some couple times they couldn't open it. Horse could speak better than I can.
Not only that, but it creates a heck of a stink. in
Yeah,
there.
more than a little.
It's unbelievable.
So
More than a little.
I know that when we put the small roof over sections that we had the road crew. We set the poles up there, and that's when Daryl was here. We got the poles from Velco Corporation, and we set the poles, and then Joe Parker and Daryl did put the roof on. I just handed stuff.
So basically, you're just kind of creating almost like a little locker for them to go in or something.
It needs like a small dog kennel.
Yeah,
But my concern is with the height and stuff, the pitch coming off that other roof,
Off the shed, the
off the shed.
trade shed or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Should we put it someplace else? Should we move it and put it someplace else?
Yeah, but I don't know where.
yeah, because you have the metal box, then the shed for electric stuff. Then you have that little space there.
No way to do it where it is there now. And if you had like a dog kennel or something, and then go into that roof at the top, at the peak, and whole
Bring it down.
roof all the way down. Is no way to do it.
So my suggestion is, can you stop over when they're open and talk with Horst about it?
So here's my question: are we further ahead
Do we need a roof?
to get?
I was gonna say, we don't need a roof, you just gotta keep the bear from climbing up over the top, so just
Why do
a
we need a roof on it?
chain link
I
over the
suggest
top
it
would be
fun.
fine.
We'll buy a dog crate,
Like a chain link
a
thing.
chain link fence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or are we
Small
further
one.
ahead to go get a little garden time shed and put it across by the cardboard bin and call it a day?
Well, the thing is, you want to open air though.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at the creatures in there in that room now, and the snakes are bad.
yeah.
It needs to be exposed, and that's why I don't see no sense for even a roof over it.
No,
Almost like a chain link cage, almost basically.
Yeah, a dog kennel.
Yeah, but then bears will climb right over the top of it.
Tractor supply
Oh,
something.
yeah. Because my brother had something like
They
that
will.
down there.
you could run chain link fence across the top of
I was
it.
gonna say they make them they're closed in on top too.
Once you get hold of him and tell him to go up to, for instance, Tractor Supply and see what they have up there, that's just chain link.
Yeah.
With what kind of a roof do they have? Or chain link mesh that'll fit over the top. And then that's where we'll start. Ash, if you're up there, you run into him, have a conversation with him.
I already did. And I suggested the dog thing to him.
Yeah.
They were complaining about it because it stunk so bad in that room.
You know, I have one of those, it's 12 by 12, that's too
It's too
big.
big.
I never used it, damn thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't need more than what, 6 by 8?
Not even that.
No.
6 by 6 would be even
Yeah,
better.
probably. Have a gate on it. It would have to be pretty well secured though. Post up in cement. Because these bears I've seen over in East Clarendon, a couple of spots where they've got
Yeah.
into things, and
Well, you could anchor it to the building.
they're not gentle with stuff. When there's food there, they're going in one way or another.
So they have a mama bear and 2 cubs right now that are helping themselves.
Yeah, the same ones hanging around over by Harry's place and by my granddaughter's son. They're over there, yeah.
That's all I have. Bob, do you have anything?
Just one little thing, probably, pardon me, Katie can help me out. Had a note in the folder up there from Helen Forrest up on 7B regarding school zone.
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at that. There are school zone signs there. There's one on 7B and there's one on Moulton Avenue. I do agree with them people. The speed through there is pretty high. But I think more rather than more signs and more ordinance, I think we need to enforce what we have. Get the sheriffs in there a little bit. I know I brought this up about the village last meeting or 2 meetings ago. And I've seen the sheriffs once or twice. And I'll admit, they cannot be there 24 hours a day. No way. But I think if they would issue a few tickets, it might tone things down just a little bit. That's all I got.
Okay.
just to follow up on that, I spoke with her and told her like the best way to, you know, voice her concern is to write something to the board, and she said she would do that. And I also did call the sheriff's department to patrol that area more. So
So
Yeah,
the sheriff department's been alerted then.
yeah,
Cash, you have any?
There's one thing I missed in my report, and it's the line striping on Moulton Avenue and Alphresia if it's needed. And Katie got quote $5,000, then that includes stop bars at each intersection.
that was from back in July. So I don't know if it's changed, gone up, but
Like, at the time, that's what got brought up and we said,
right.
Squash
bag
it.
it for that.
Okay.
I thought. I mean, unless people
Well,
want.
thing is, we only got 2,000 in that budget. So that's all I got.
I mean, if in the spring it wasn't too bad of a winter and the budgets are looking good, I suppose we could talk about it in the spring. But I don't think it's gonna make that much of a difference now
Not
through
right
the
now.
winter anyway on that road. So
All right, anybody else have anything else? If not, I entertain a motion.
so moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
There.